right, welcome everybody to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I am your host, Ben Frank, VP of Marketing here at Flxpoint. And today we are honored to have Mitul Patel. He's the head of D2C e-commerce and marketplace partners at Kenneth Cole. Hey, Mitul, really appreciate you joining today.
Glad to have it. Thank you for having me on the podcast here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead and jump in. I think if we could start, I think probably most of our viewers know who Kenneth Cole is, right? It's a very well-known brand, but I think there's probably obviously a lot that they don't know, and you're an expert not only in this space, but obviously at the company. So if you could just give us a quick overview of Kenneth Cole and what you do there, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, Kenneth Cole, fashion designer, has been an American fashion designer for the last 40 plus years. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you. We're based here out of New York. Most people think Kenneth Cole is not active in the business. He is actually in the office most days. Still part of product design, has a lot of great input, so we get to see him, we get to work with him. One of the very few American fashion designers that are still very involved in the business. So it's a great opportunity to work with someone that's been fashion forward thinking for so many years and such a great inspiration to the industry. But yeah, we are, a licensing house, so we actually are in the business of, selling our products out, our brand name out there. We support our product designs, work with, close to 30 plus domestic and international license partners. So we licensees, we call them, or strategic partners, we like to call them. And we're always developing product and always developing solutions to go out there in the market and make fashion easier to approach, easier to work with, and easier to wear. We call it wear to work.
That's awesome. I know that I have worn many Kenneth Cole products to work,
Sure.
And I absolutely love them. So that's
our
awesome.
Tailored suiting and our footwear has always been our staples of our product. Kenneth is a hardcore footwear designer. You can give him a sketch pad and he can draw you out a pair of footwear in no time. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. It's incredible that he's still so involved with the business after so many years. I mean, it's just a rare thing, as you pointed out.
He stands for his name and he stands behind the brand. We are very customer centric. I know everybody says it. He's very big part into mental health. That's a big part of our mission and how we create products, as well as how we give back into the community to help out as well.
It's incredible. I know we were chatting a little bit before about some of the initiatives you guys have, and it's impressive and such an important thing. So that's fantastic. It's great, absolutely great. Well, thank you for that. And then your role. Could you tell our audience a little bit about what you do at Kenneth Cole?
So I oversee all of e-commerce for our direct-to-commerce business, which is KennethCole.com. I help our strategic partners on our marketplaces like Amazon stuff. So, in our internal business, I oversee our website, our operations, the overall financial P&L. We've got our marketing teams, our branding teams. We all work together to make sure we are presenting the brand in a cohesive effort. We don't have any retail stores left here in the United States, so this is our retail store. So we're making sure we're portraying that on our website as best as possible. And, we want to make sure our customer feels comfortable where they're shopping, whether it be in Amazon, a Macy's, or Bloomingdale's. Because the customer at the end of the day is who we want to take care of. So oversee everything all.com. It's a really fun environment. Like I said, we're a very lean team, and it's great that we partner with Flxpoint, because that was one of our situations and issues we would always run into, and how we route all of the orders depending on what you purchased. You could have purchased a handbag, a pair of footwear, and a piece of luggage, and that would be 3 strategic partners that we would be shipping out from.
I was going to say, I mean, you're a busy guy. I mean, the website itself is massive. It's absolutely beautiful. Obviously, really easy to navigate. So I love the website. I've been on it quite a good bit, even before being at Flxpoint. So that's awesome. And I know that's always the challenge, right? It's scaling, and when you have so many different pathways, avenues people can go, right? Trying to find a way to consolidate, obviously, without interrupting our operations, but efficiency and all those things, it's huge. So
yep. It's interesting you bring up operations. We were with a third-party e-commerce company for a few years, and you tend to lose that brand control, and that's something that we brought back in this past year itself, and that was where we reached out to Flxpoint. And I've scoped out other companies in the past, and we needed something that we could have more control over. We needed something that was an option that we could integrate partners, integrate licensees, integrate warehouses. Because as we grow, as we scale, we're going to be bringing on more and more, because it's all different product lines. And if we can't do that without, streamline, then that's a cost of doing business that affects everybody.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's a beautiful point. You're right. A lot of times with the consolidation, you're trying to do that. It means you're shipping other pieces of the business out to somebody else, and you do lose some of that control, right? And that's kind of at Flexpoint. Obviously, obviously VP of marketing. I'll put on the marketing hat for a second, but that is exactly what we're about. Obviously, customers. We're very customer centric. That's why we built the product to help people, obviously like you and a lot of our other amazing customers. But the idea is that it increases the flexibility that you have, right? So it gives you the ability to scale, but without forfeiting any of the control, which is the flexible customizations and all that stuff. But, it's in the name, right? Flexpoint. It's a flexible way to get the sources and channels connected in the same point.
Yeah, I've used the larger partners. We used to, we work with all the retail partners, Macy's, Nordstrom. Everybody uses EDI, electronic data interchange, right? It's a very old school format. It requires hardcore programming. We've had EDI people on our IT team that after they saw Flexpoint, they were just absolutely amazed. And I'm not saying it's a job security thing, but the ease of use, the intuitive platform was great. We work with a digital agency called Digital Factory 24. They manage our back office operations as we're on Shopify Plus. They manage all of our digital assets and our back office operations. And they've never used Flexpoint, but working with your team, I believe it was Ryan Garcia, who was our onboarding specialist. She and our team at Digital Factory 24, they definitely worked together. They learned it, and we've onboarded a couple new partners even after our offboarding, and we've been using it right under a year now, and no problems. And we're about to onboard our newest footwear partner, and that's big business for us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. It's great context. I think Ryan, I've talked to a pretty good bit. She's absolutely incredible. She's loved working with you and the rest of the team. And I know the EDI thing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, EDI Shopify connection functionality was kind of what you were looking for at the onset. Yes. Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay.
That is correct. Yeah. So we're Shopify Plus. We don't do any order routing within Shopify. I know it has the capabilities, but we were looking for something that an external solution where we could do a little bit more with it, get some reporting capabilities out of it. Look at inventory, and then that was where where I found Flexpoint, where it just was more of a bridge to the world, we'll call it.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah. That's the marketing side of me coming out,
Yeah. I love it. We're speaking the same language. That's great. I know we'll talk a little more EDI in the future, but appreciate all that context. It's great to know the history of the company, obviously where you're at, kind of what the operations looked like, and obviously the solution you were trying to solve, and where Flexpoint came in. So I think with that, obviously just under a year, what objectives or priorities do you guys have moving into 2025? You touched on a little bit. Obviously, you're bringing on additional folks to help you, additional partners. But what else? Other initiatives you guys have going on?
So the biggest initiatives is we're a 40-plus-year-old brand. As time has evolved, the customers evolved, and that's where we're trying to get into a different, newer demographic, getting to the expectations of quicker delivery, better order routing. That's where Flexpoint comes in here. But scaling the brand from a perspective of fashion first, right? It's what we stand behind. We want to create fashion that's easily accessible. We want to create it that's where to work. Kenneth himself has patented fibers that he puts into his product, Kenneth Cole. This year we're launching, we partnered with Pantone, so we've got our own color. It's called Charcoal. So there's a lot of these collaborations, a lot of these partnerships that we're doing out there. Scaling the business not just from a dollars perspective, from a brand awareness perspective. Like I said, being a licensing company, it's one of those things where we have to value what our brand stands for. We may not see the direct relationship from marketing efforts directly back to our website, but we know that consumers are going to find us somewhere else and be able to transact somewhere else. So it's really hard to correlate that we drove these marketing dollars to our website. The customer may not have transacted there, but at the end of the day, they might have transacted in Macy's or gone into a retail store like Nordstrom's and been able to try on the footwear and avoid a return and that kind of stuff. So brand exposure is our biggest initiative for scaling 2025. Working with strategic partners, our footwear partners, our newest one we just recently announced. We're working with Mark Fisher to be our footwear partner. Again, a really large name in the industry. Kenneth and Mark have hit it off. This is just going to be something that affects the overall industry altogether when there's these collaborations happening.
Absolutely. And distribution of the brand, right?
Yeah.
Again, on the marketing side of things, that's a mystery that no one's been able to solve, right? And maybe never will be able to from a brand standpoint of, well, we don't know exactly which channel it came from or anything else, but the value and the ROI of getting the brand exposure and obviously getting in front of different folks and penetrating a different kind of a different audience or a different target. I mean, it's incredible. And obviously I think one of the best and most brilliant branding ways to do that, to go about it, is obviously to get in front of those people in collaborations. And it's also a beautiful thing when great minds come together, right? I truly believe, we believe here at Flxpoint, that that's the beauty of it. When great minds come together and come up with creative solutions and new products, that's where innovation really happens. So
Yeah.
excited for you. That's great.
The collaborations are a very strong part of our business. It leads our brand, but it also helps our collaborators expose themselves. One of the strongest collaborations we just did just a couple weeks back was Sesame Street. It's something that everybody grew up with, and this is the second time around that we did it. And that's a product where we created inventory, we put it in our own warehouses, but then we also had it as an ordering capability that if we oversold those, that we'd be able to go to a different warehouse and be able to print on demand to be able to create more demand, more product if we ever needed to. So having those backup capabilities, and that's what we had within Flxpoint. We're having multiple locations, and not just warehouse locations, but multiple shipping warehouse vendor relations that can get the job done as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, massively improved efficiency there with the print on demand functionality, right? It's incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things we've been challenged with in the past, and going back into the operations perspective, returns is a very big problem in e-commerce. Most people are finally talking about it now, but when you're getting returns back in your own warehouse or back to an office, you're not necessarily able to resell those. They might have been just for size reasons or anything of that nature. We're able to either put this into a donation effort, put this into a category where it is resellable, or put it into a total donation effort altogether, where this product can't be resold. But being able for the system to allow it to make that determination, as well as when human intervention comes into it as well.
Yeah, the returns. You're right. It's not something a lot of folks think about at first, but it's a big part of it. So that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. What was the moving into some of the specific? We touched on some of it already, but what was the order and product management process like before Flxpoint? Could you talk us through that a little bit?
So while it was being outsourced, we didn't touch much of it. So it was really just managed. Merchant of Record was a third-party company. They were handling all order processing. We were trying to provide them inventory. We didn't have visibility into what type of inventory they would need just in time. We were holding more inventory than we wanted to. So then it becomes an issue of, and footwear is a great example. We call it hash. Men's footwear, you have from size 6, 7-ish going up until size 12, 13. Your common sizes are those 8, 9, 10, 11, but you don't necessarily what the demand perspective is how much you're selling through. And when you're on a website itself, you're driving traffic to it. What happens is you run out of your common sizes. You're still driving traffic to it, but then you're getting people to bounce off of that page. So you're spending money on marketing. That's the kind of stuff that we were missing when we were externally. Now that we can actually see it within Flxpoint that we're running low on some of these sizes, or we can go back to our strategic partner of like, hey, replenish some of the stock, or where do we stand on this? And being able to make smarter decisions around that.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, the visibility of it, 100%, right?
Exactly. We were not doing any manual order processing. We were on Shopify Plus, so it was still, there itself. Through the old EDI format with this outside company, they had a couple of different connections. It was going through their ERP, then going to, one of your competitors' EDI systems, then getting routed out of their warehouse. There was an extra day and a half time where it just kind of had to all flow together. Where right now we're getting in before 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're able to get it out the same day in most of our warehouses.
Incredible. Well, it's massively improved. Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's interesting. I think, not to go too deep down the marketing speak path here, but the value of being able to correct those things and just to know when something is low on stock and you want to shift some things around, just from an advertising perspective and alone, right? Like the hundreds of dollars a day that you're spending sending potential customers to those pages where the sizes are no longer available, that adds up, especially if we start looking at hundreds of products, right, over time. And so visibility is a huge, huge part of it. So, I'm glad you touched on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I think the next question I have is we're talking about order volume, and obviously we don't have to get into specifics. I know that's it's sensitive information, it's private information, but in terms of order volume, has that improved? Have you increased like sales overall? I know there's obviously way more to that than just moving to Flxpoint, but how are things looking for you guys there?
Yeah, from an order volume perspective, we are looking to grow the business itself. So we have seen increases. It's a fully loaded question. It's marketing involved, it's collaborations involved. It's having the right inventory. So it all has played a part into it. But yeah, we're definitely looking. It's increased over the 2024, and our goal is to constantly increase that little by little. Where we've seen bigger improvements is our marketing efforts and knowing that we can do this. So our partners have gotten better information as we're driving that, and that we
Mm.
can get out of Flexpoint and all of our technologies that we have now, and that it's an overall impact, not just a one thing impact.
It makes sense. Yeah, it's everything, right? If
Yeah,
one element of that is missing or is malfunctioning in some way or could be improved, whatever the case may be, it all adds up over time. So
for
FlexPoint's a
sure,
piece of
for
that.
sure.
But obviously, I'm glad that obviously we expect the business to be growing. I'm happy to hear that it is, and from an efficiency standpoint, can't wait to see where you guys go in 2025 and where we can
Yeah.
continue to optimize and help things improve.
Yeah, I talk to our president all the time, and retail is something we would love to get back into. Obviously, there's different expectations around retail, but coming, working a lot with Amazon, been in the space for 25 years. I would love to create an immersive experience where a person can walk into an immersive showroom, not worry about having to walk out with product. They can try on something in their size, but then by the time they get home within 2 to 4 hours, using technology and warehousing nearby, they'd be able to have that product delivered right to their home by the time they got home.
Wow. That's a game changer. I mean, that's an absolutely incredible idea. I'd love to experience it as a
Yeah,
consumer.
so creating pop-up shops, mobile pop-up shops, it's one of those things where that's a vision that I have. It's a lot more to do than just that, but it's a longer term vision.
Yeah. Well, it's a great vision, and we're happy to be a part of that journey, obviously, and help in any way we can. So that's great. I think next thing we talked about it a little bit, but your search for the right partner in this endeavor, moving more towards the road to FlexPoint, if you will. How was that process? I know we already talked about it. Obviously, EDI and Shopify. When you were considering different vendors, what were the main factors that ultimately led you to FlexPoint?
One of the things is I've been in the space for, like I said, 25 years. I've worked with a lot of the competitors. I've heard of FlexPoint. I might have seen you guys at one of the trade shows or conferences a few years back. I vetted you guys for another Kenneth Cole business, and it just didn't work out because the person leading the project didn't have experience with FlexPoint. I
Mm.
think that was the issue. They felt more comfortable with what was out there already in the market. I think the biggest turning point for FlexPoint for me, besides cost, one thing, is that the capabilities that you guys have outside of EDI. You can connect API, you can connect SFTP, flat files, whatever it took, we can get somebody up and running quickly.
Mm.
And some of our partners, they're slower to test. As you know, most are aware in retail, it takes months for an EDI connection. There's
Yep.
blackout periods, especially like Q3, Q4. There's a lot of testing that goes on. So how do you get somebody running up quickly while you're still figuring out the rest of it? And that's what the capabilities that we saw with FlexPoint is. We can use something as simple as a flat file. One time in, one time out, drop orders, get confirmations, ship it back out while you're still working on all the testing aspects of EDI. So you can create multiple connections multiple different ways, and your go-to market is that much quicker right there.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, and that's something that we've heard a lot, right? I mean, even on this podcast itself, right? We've had other customers that have said, "Look, we explored other vendors that were EDI specific, right? Enterprise functionality, all of those things." And the reality is that we were promised a 6 to 8 week launch, right? And that turned into months, right? And it still
Yeah.
wasn't quite done. And so it's that combination of things. I think, I mean, now that we're on the topic of onboarding and EDI integrations and all of that, I mean, and speed, what was the experience like for you working with Ryan and the rest of the team?
Working with Ryan, like I said, we are a very lean team in the e-commerce here and IT. At being a licensed house, there's not much to go around. So we did do the onboarding support with Ryan. She was very hands on it. We had our touch bases. She worked with each individual partner. So she was the project manager doing as well as doing all the integrations with our team, as well as she was teaching our team. So when she does offboard herself, that we would have ourselves up and running to take on more later on. It was a great experience. Nothing's ever perfect. I think that goes across the board for anybody, just because
Anything, yeah.
with anything IT related, and some of it comes to us, some of it comes to partners. It just certain things just don't work out, and when you roll out things, there's always gonna be bugs. But Ryan was very quick to fix them, very quick to follow up and get them done. So it's one of the better or best experiences I had working with a tech partner, especially in an EDI phase here.
No, it's great to hear, obviously, and you know, Ryan just super dedicated, obviously, and we all are on the Flexpoint side, right?
Yeah.
Like above and beyond, it's a commitment. We like to say anytime from a tech standpoint, especially when we're integrating with different software, it's a promise, right? Our promise to you is that we're going to improve things, help with the increased speed, improve efficiency, improve operations, obviously make everything flow a little bit better. And so, I think any kind of tech, especially the level of complexity obviously adds to it. But, I think the difference between great and just okay companies is that when you hit those roadblocks, do you jump on them quickly, address the issues quickly, obviously work hand in hand to get everything taken care of. And so it sounds like that's exactly the experience that you had.
Yeah, like you hit it right there. Most companies, oh, I don't know about this. Let me escalate it. Then it becomes into a ticket system, and that where she actually took the time, work with the person to solve the problem, and work with it and get it solved. That was the key part that I loved. And I think our digital team, same thing. It's like we can reach out to Ryan. She'll always find an answer for us. I think anything custom that we did, you guys never took it as custom. You guys found us a solution and solved it and moved on. I think the benefit there is that it's a learning experience for everybody, and it gives an opportunity for a tech package like yours to go out and now service for other people, right? Because everybody has the same problem. Some people bring it up, some people don't. Some people just live with it, and it's part of doing business. To me, that's not acceptable, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. Like that. If you're trying to fix things, let's fix it. Everything we can possibly fix.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's excellent. I appreciate you sharing that. Speaking of that, so that's the onboarding side of things. From a support standpoint, if your team needs help with anything outside of just the onboarding stuff, how's the support team and the support experience been for you?
Support's been great. Our team at Digital Factory 24, they've reached out. There's always some not technical issues, but there's some always updates that are being done. Some of our partners change mappings, just as an example, or they change the way they send in files or whatever. Your support team, just through the ticketing system, has been great. No issues there. I rarely hear about anything, which is good.
That's right. No news is great news.
All they do is they keep me in the loop of we're working on this, it's getting solved, and that's it. As long as it doesn't impact day to day or become a customer service related issue, then I know it's being done properly, and there's no intervention is the best intervention, right?
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that.
I hate to flex the title, but if it comes down to it, you do. But I have not done that here yet.
Yeah. No, I love it, and I appreciate that. It's great to know, and obviously, I would know. I ask, like, my team has had just an incredible experience working with you and your team as well. So
glad to hear
it's
that.
both. Yeah, good to hear it's both ways. Awesome. Well, now that you've been up and running for almost a year, I mean, what's the experience overall? What do you really like about the platform? We've talked about some of it, but is there anything else that you haven't already called out that you'd like to speak to?
It's so intuitive. So one of my roles is I oversee customer service as well. So looking at order routing, making sure where it stands in the process, I'm able to log in, look at it really easily. I have no EDI experience. I don't need to go into an 846 inventory file. I do sometimes just to make sure of it. But the visibility is there, and I think that's the most important thing. I know Shopify Plus, you can bring in information there, but you still need to know any edits, any routings, any upgrades to shipping. It's a very intuitive, simple platform that you can go ahead and make changes and move on with your day. It doesn't require creating a ticket, doesn't require sending an email to a partner. It's all self-managed, and I think that's the most important thing here. Is you have somebody on the phone in customer service, they can give an answer, they can make a change, and it's already out there itself.
Awesome. Yeah, it's again, improved efficiency. It's great to hear. That's obviously one of our goals. And the intuitive part of it, is there anything in particular? Obviously, it's ease of use, right? It's having everything right there. It's being able to do everything from the platform. It's one centralized location, which is the entire point, right? But how about from a user interface and that kind of user experience perspective? Do you have any feedback on that within the app?
The common filters are there within the platform itself, which is great. So looking at your standard like open orders or something that has an error, because that's a common thing in EDI. You'll get in the old school systems or a lot of the competitor systems, if an order or an inventory file or something errored out, somebody would manually need to see that. And I think the stuff that gets flagged up here, because there's always going to be tech issues, servers being down, internet being off, whatever it comes down to. I think just being able to see that and making a decision and getting to that solution right there. Looking at orders, we look at how they're coming in, what they're building upon, how it's getting routed out. That is all straightforward. Holding orders if we ever needed to. We don't do much of that, but when we do some collaborations or anything of that nature, we'll hold an order, pre-orders, which we've never done in our system ever.
Mm.
That was the biggest thing that we did. We launched after many, many years the women's apparel line this past September,
Uh,
and we officially did pre-orders, and we were able to hold the orders within Flexpoint without sending it to our partners system because they didn't have the capability of taking back orders.
mm.
So we were able to stop the order here, be able to see when the inventory actually came into stock, and then route the orders at that time.
It's
And
incredible.
we did that when we launched the product, and similarly we did that when we launched our fall winter line, where
Mm.
inventory was trickling in style by style. So we wanted to make sure the customer took full advantage of a new style coming in, and being able to wait maybe a day or 2 or 5 days, and we could expedite the shipping and get it out to them. These are all capabilities that we've never had in our system ever before, and it's because of partner limitations. They're not,
Mm.
a lot of warehouses, they want to take an order, ship it right back out, whether it's a 3PL or an owned warehouse. They don't want to hold back orders in the system because it looks bad on their reporting. It's bad for their
Right.
SMEs, right? But we're able to stop that order right here, but transact fully in front of the customer within Shopify Plus.
That's incredible. I mean, it's incredible from a the pre-order standpoint, yes, but to understand what the demand's going to be, to get something in front of people before it's ready. I mean, that's awesome, and obviously I'm super happy you guys had that kind of experience with it. It worked exactly how you needed it to, but it's great, and it's great that that's it's kind of the market side of it, right? It's its own thing, and you don't have to. You can separate it in a way from the fulfillment side, which is just
Sure.
a huge benefit. So
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. Well, I appreciate it. That's awesome that you guys are having, obviously new experience with it, innovating, all those kinds of things. I think as we move into, I call these the fun questions when we start to get into more of the future focused stuff, but also your experience. Is there anything with the audience here you'd like to share? That fun tips and tricks in FlexPoint, things to know as they're getting started.
Things to know is the visibility. You don't realize when you're doing EDI of how much information you get back out of a software like this. Traditional EDI systems, everything is a code language. Unless you
Yep.
have an EDA programmer actually putting that into a PowerPoint for you or a dashboard, you don't know what's going on. One of the nice things that I show our CFO and our controller is look how many orders we're doing out of each warehouse. Look how they're being divided up. Is it worthwhile now for us to actually buy inventory versus drop shipping so we can create order efficiency? We see X product being sold with Y product more often than not. Maybe we bring these into the same warehouse and create shipping dollar efficiency. I think that's the stuff that people should be looking at because top line sales margin is very strict. There's a very high cost of marketing. The only places where you can become a little more efficient is operationally. Um, it's hard to relay that information together, especially when we're doing 20, 30 strategic partners. We don't control these warehouses. We don't control that inventory.
Right.
We control what customer comes to our site, hopefully what they transact or what they buy, and then getting it out the door. Per package costs go up significantly. So how do we combine this and save some and make some efficiency there? Other tips and tricks, it's just looking at, if you're not an EDI person, how stuff actually comes in and how it actually gets translated into this really nice, cool platform. Like I said, we have this IT guy who used to manually code EDI files, your 846s, your 850s, fulfillments, all that kind of stuff. And him working with Ryan, he was just mind blown. It's just how easy it can be. Don't overcomplicate the process. It's really not. And I think working with a strategic partner like FlexPoint, you really understand that at that point.
Excellent. No, that's absolutely great feedback on the EDI side, especially. I don't think a lot of people think of it that way, and it's one of those things that it's so important to the business and the function of the business. But I mean, this is the example you shared. If you're manually coding all that, it's just such a slog, right, compared to how efficient it could be.
Yeah, we work with the top partners out in the fashion apparel industry. They produce product for all the retailers under their white label brands, as well as all the top name American fashion designers. I don't think anybody heard of FlexPoint, but after they started working with Ryan, after they started seeing the platform, because I could share, on screen what it looks like and that, they were all surprised how easy it is. They were all still using legacy systems because they're all still connected into the retail partners, which still
Yeah.
use those legacy systems. Some of them are still on AS400, which I'm glad that it's still out there, but
Sure.
times have changed.
They've changed a lot. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
changed a lot. And I think it is an awareness thing more than anything, though, right? It's just, you get so used to it. And I've been in the automation space for a very long time, right? And I think that oftentimes the feedback we get is that, we didn't know that existed, right? We didn't know there was a better option. And so obviously, it's great to hear that feedback. It's great to hear that everyone that saw it was just blown away that something like this existed. So that's awesome. And I think, as we talked about change and innovation and the future of e-com and all those things, is there anything from an industry standpoint that you think is shifting in the coming, let's call it short-term and long-term, that other people should know about, trends, anything like that?
Ease of use, ease of transaction, and the expectations. We all shop on Amazon. I have met a few that have not, which is obviously shocking. But
it is shocking.
There's this gold standard of what you expect when you transact online. If you're not there with using technology, using marketing, using a platform, you're going to be left behind. People always think it's late to enter e-commerce. I think what everybody should always be looking at is how to become more efficient. Don't stick with your legacy systems. There's always something better. There is a time cost commitment to it, but there is a cost operational efficiency savings to it over time.
No, that's a great line, I think, because a lot of times it's challenging. I think a lot of times when people, whether it's Flxpoint or any other kind of efficiency and automation technology, a lot of times people are looking at it and they're almost viewing it like it's a cost center, right? They're going, well, how much is it going to cost me? And obviously cost factors into every decision, right? Is there the budget for it, whatever it may be. But I think the savings, the efficiency improvement, the ability to do things like pre-orders, the ability to do things like monitor true visibility, cut down ad spending, increase ad spending based on which products are being purchased more, enhanced drop shipping, all those things. I think that, when we look at that from an ROI perspective, it far outweighs, anything from a cost standpoint. Obviously, it depends on the cost, right? It depends on the automation technology you're looking for. But I think it's a great call out. And, obviously that's what we obviously, here we say, look, our goal is obviously for this. It's not going to cost you anything in the long run, right? But, it's just communicating that and breaking it down. And I think in this conversation, I think that you've, hit a lot of those points really, really well. So I personally greatly appreciate the insight, Mitul, and I know the rest of the audience will as well.
Yeah, I think from a vision that I have, and I was speaking with a shipping partner that's not one of the large 3 carriers, but looking at how you engage the consumer into one-upping your competitor. Using technology is one of those things where I was just talking to him about it, and Flxpoint was part of it too. Is that I know where the order is in each stage of the process. Can I communicate that with a customer? I know people do the emails like your order's being picked, it's being packaged, it's awaiting pickup. But is there how do you take that information and take it to the next step? And your order's out for delivery, you just got it. Hey, your new sweater that you just purchased that you were waiting for is out on your front step. Go ahead and try it on. Sending another email communication. How did you like it? Now, can you, if there's a problem with that, can you reduce a customer return? Getting it back, sending up another order, sending it back out, getting it out to them another day. This is all customer experience that people are just waiting to have right now. That I think is just having the right technology and the right pieces in place to make sure you can do it all in a full 360 environment.
Agreed. And I think that is the future of e-com, right? We are going to see companies like Kenneth Cole and other companies in the e-com space really get that dialed in with the use of technology, and it'll change the game, right? I think that's going to be the difference between the companies that thrive and really innovate and create just incredible experiences that people are going to be blown away by, and obviously those that wait a little bit longer and maybe miss out on some great opportunities. So that's incredible.
Yeah, Kenneth has always been one from day one to push the boundaries. You'll see him, being an activist, a philanthropist, always talking about mental health, talking about AIDS awareness, anything that's not necessarily trending, but that's important to your daily life. And he helps us to envision that in the .com business as well. And that's what we're always doing, is pushing the boundaries. We're not afraid of putting a bad word or a good word out there, as long as it's making a change in somebody's life.
That's amazing. And probably, I think the best place to end. It's a beautiful, this conversation in general, I think I've learned a ton just talking to you, Mitul, and I think learning about Kenneth Cole and look at, obviously a Flxpoint customer, which is amazing. But I think from a personal standpoint, a lot of the things that you guys believe in as a brand and that you really embody, they resonate with me and with the Flxpoint team. And I think that's just incredible. The innovation, the change, positive change, like force for change. I think that's all
Sure.
incredible. And I, obviously, we'll be there every step of the way, but I'll be watching the progression next year very closely. And I can't wait to order my next pair of Kenneth Cole shoes and another apparel and have this incredible customer experience that you're talking about. It's going to be great. Yeah. Any last words? Anything you want to share with the audience, Mitul?
In technology and e-commerce, you have to take a risk. Test out the partners, learn from it, and move on. I think that's the biggest thing here. It's not about pivoting. It's not about anything else. You have to sometimes take a risk to figure out what's better that's out there. You can always go back to something else.
Wise words in business and wise words in life.
Yes, for sure. Yes, I always look at it that way.
Yeah, same here. All right, well, this has been amazing. Really appreciate the time. For those of you who are watching this later on, this is during the holidays, so Mitul took time out of the busiest time of the year to have this conversation with us, and we cannot be more grateful. Obviously, we appreciate the partnership. Mitul, we appreciate the conversation, your time today. Happy holidays. Thanks so much.
Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you, guys.
Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you. Next time.